I moved out alone almost 3 years ago now, and this is my experience of living in New York City. A lot of people think it's glamorous, but this is what you should expect. This city will break you in so many ways, but it will also build you in phenomenal ways that you would never even thought was possible. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mohuya, your local New York City native. If you guys don't know, I moved out to New York City about 2 years ago. I was born and raised in New York, but my family and I did move to Long Island. So I did my elementary school, my high school, and everything there, but then I came back for college, and then I moved out alone to experience the New York City life in my adult years, okay? And here I am making this video to really show you the truth on what it's like living in New York, especially in your 20s or 30s, whatever it is, because I feel like we always see the positive, luxurious, glamorous things that make up the city, but no one really shows the realistic, negative things that also make up your experience of living in New York City. So if you are trying to move here, or if you are trying to visit here, this is the perfect video for you because it's going to put a lot of the things to the forefront that you do have to consider before coming here, because again, we don't show just like the fake luxurious things on this channel. So living alone in New York City, moving out here has been a great experience, very fulfilling, but also on the other end of the stick, it has been very scary, lonely, taxing, and so many other negative things. I'm really excited in a weird way to show you the tea on that. If you guys don't know me, I'm Mohuya. I post vlogs every single week on my channel, New York City vlogs, ways to move out to New York City in a realistic way, apartment tours, just like about my life. So if you want that type of content every single week, make sure to like and subscribe so I show up on your feed. I also post every single day on my Instagram and TikTok. It's more short form, and you'll see a lot more updates on my life and like New York City content and just things that I'm doing. So make sure to follow me on that as well as Labyrinth Ave. And also, before we get started on this video, I am currently fasting for Ramadan right now, so I have no drink in my hand. I also have not eaten or drank in the past few hours, so cut me some slack if I am forgetting things or if I am a little woozy in the brain, okay? So I moved out alone almost 3 years ago now, which is wild, and this is my experience of living in New York City. A lot of people think it's glamorous. It's really not, for the most part. Obviously there are pros to everything, there are cons to everything, but this is what you should expect. We're gonna start off with the cons, just so we have something to look forward to, the bright parts of living in New York City, just so we don't end on a bad note. One con about New York City, we know that the cost of living has gotten so high, so many people have to get multiple jobs just to stay afloat and survive in New York, which is so unfortunate because this is pushing out the real immigrants and the real New Yorkers of this city. Obviously, this is not the case for everyone. If you have a really high-paying job and a really good job, you probably don't have to take up side incomes to live here, but for the most part, if you are a teacher, you're probably going to have to get like a tutoring job or a side job to afford to live here, which is really unfortunate. I have my master's in teaching. I wanted to become a teacher, but the cost of living is so disproportionate from the amount that you make that it's really not feasible for most people. When I first moved out at 23, I had savings, but those savings were the only thing that kept me afloat because I had to go through all of my savings to really live here because I only really had one source of income. And gratefully now, in the past few years of living here, I've had so many side passions that I've genuinely liked pursuing that have gratefully become my sources of incomes, which is great. But for the average person that is working a 9 to 5, and then on top of that they have kids, and then on top of that they have to pay rent and all of these things, and then have more jobs, it's really not feasible. So it makes you feel very tired, and it makes you feel like all of the hours of work that you do don't really matter. People can't afford a house here, they can't afford rent, they can't afford basic luxuries like groceries. That shouldn't even be a luxury, and that's why so many people are being pushed out, and it's very difficult and strenuous at times. So definitely when I first moved here, it was very discouraging. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. It took a lot of grit and hard work and tears. A lot of tears. Number two, which can be a con but also a pro, you are in such a big hustle culture type of environment where it makes you feel like you're working so much but it's still never good enough. It's such a high concentrated and a high cost city that you're kind of competing with yourself just to survive, but you're also competing with other people in odd ways, which makes you never feel good enough, right? And it's such a different feeling because I've gone to so many other big cities like Paris, London, I've been to Bangladesh, you know, Dhaka, and those are obviously very high concentrated cities as well, where people are working constantly, but it's not to the same extent of New York City. People in European cities, for the most part, have some sort of work-life balance. Their work doesn't define their entire world, right? It doesn't define their identity. Whereas here, it's kind of a flex to be working more. It's kind of a flex to do better than your neighbor. And if you are in that type of environment for too long and you get sucked into it, it can define your whole personality and your identity and who you are, and it's not a good thing. Like, one-upping copying one another, going into competition with one another is not a good thing. So you definitely need a break from it sometimes, and you definitely need a good grasp on yourself beyond just living in the city, because otherwise it's gonna take you under. And I'm saying that from my own perspective. Like, it definitely was not a good thing when I first moved here, because it felt like I wasn't doing things for myself anymore. I felt like I was doing things for the perfect image, or to look like I was doing a lot more than I am, and it's not a healthy thing at all. So definitely before you come here, try to do some inner working or try to go to therapy, okay? Because it will take you under. Another thing that is a very huge con, kind of plays along with the first thing that I said. There's a lack of stability with the increase in the cost of living, cost of apartments, whatever it is. The true people that built the city are getting pushed out, right? But on the other end of the stick, even if you have a good job, if you're going out to eat or get drinks with your friends or whatever it is, even a couple times a week, it feels like it's really putting a dent into your bank account, because things are so expensive nowadays. Like, a cocktail is like $15+, right? And that's just one alcoholic drink. One meal at Chipotle with meat and guac, if you want to get all those extra things, is about $20. And especially if you don't live in a rent stabilized apartment, your super or your landlord can kind of just raise the rent out of nowhere. And also, some people can just like uproot their whole lives and just leave and find an apartment right away. So these things are big factors when you are living in New York City and when you're looking for an apartment or whatever it is, because you have to find a place that is rent stabilized. You have to live in an area that doesn't kill your bank account that much. You have to make friends that don't always want to go out. You just really have to think about the money aspect of things, and obviously you have to do this in every single city, but especially in New York City, money is really ruling you, which can really impact your heart, okay? I felt like I was having debilitating heart pains, heart attack for multiple years when I first moved out. There were just so many bills that come out of nowhere, so many expenses that you have to pay for. Just getting a glass of milk is so much money, so definitely take that into account. Like, if you guys know, I made so many videos on how to budget and how to save money in New York City, which are great videos, but you will see how hard I save money in those videos, where it feels like you're not actually living life in New York, in the greatest city alive, which you should be enjoying your time in. But if you guys do want to get some inspo from those videos on how to actually save money and budget and just like save extra coin, make sure to check out those videos. Another con of living in New York that was so debilitating in the beginning was that it was so lonely for me. I really had no friends at all, because again, you move here from wherever you are and it feels like everyone already has their established friend groups from people that they've known from high school or from before, and you get so much into your own head because you're comparing yourself to other people. You're trying to just survive here that you don't want to interact with people. You just get so anxious to the point where you just want to be alone. I just wanted to be on my own, you know? Like, I don't know about you, but it was like that for me. Like, all this comparing and all this overthinking restricts yourself from actually making friends. And it wasn't until like a year and a half or 2 years into me living in New York by myself where I actually put in the effort to hang out with people and make connections and make friends and things like that. But it definitely took me a long time to do that, because I was just like pitying myself and just like letting myself soak in the depression. So don't be like me, okay? Like, I promise you, you will fit in somewhere. You just have to make in the effort. Another thing that I will be very brief on is that when you think of New York City, you think of clean, you think of luxurious, glamorous. It's really not. Again, I was constantly in New York City for college, and even before that, I was here every single week. But when I actually moved here, I was like, this is nothing like the movie. Not only figuratively, but also literally. People will seem like they're perfect, they have the best lives, they're so rich, but really, they're all struggling. Don't believe social media, don't believe these people. Most of the people here are in credit card debt. They're not as perfect as they seem, but on top of that, the actual imagery of it, there's human shit in a lot of places. Garbage cans everywhere, trash bags everywhere, rats running around. I had rats on my campus sometimes. People think that the snow here is so beautiful. Yes, it is for a second, but then it turns yellow and murky and liquidy and disgusting. People want to come here during the winter time because it's so snowy and Christmassy and beautiful. It is for a second. Once you actually see the crowd and the tourists and the murky snow, you will not want to come. And this is me saying this from a person that is still enamored by New York City and the glitz and glamour of the city. I still love the city, but there are definitely things and aspects of this place that are disgusting. Okay, now let's get into the pros of New York City, because again, there are so many and I'm so grateful to be living here. So I hope the first part of this video didn't scare you and it didn't make you want to not move here. Please pursue your dreams. But again, as your older sister, as someone that has been living here forever, I just want to tell you the good and bad, just so you're not really that surprised. One beautiful thing about the city is that it really got me out of my comfort zone, whether it is me pursuing my passions or even dressing up in a certain style, right? It pushed me to pursue pursue my passions, obviously, because you have to afford your life here, right? In a negative way, it pushed me out of my comfort zone because I had to afford to live here. But on the other end of the stick, I saw so many other cool people around me doing the things that they love, where it made me comfortable enough to pursue the things I wanted to do because it's kind of normal here. It gave me a space to be eccentric. It gave me a space to not be boring. As an artist, a small business owner, a podcaster, someone that pursued their master's for teaching, what else do I do? You know, a YouTube, a content creator, and like so many other things in the creative realm. It just made me feel comfortable to do that. It made me feel like I can succeed doing those untraditional paths because I've seen so many other people also here doing the same thing. I feel like if I did stay in my home city, it wouldn't really give me the space to challenge myself and do the things that I've always wanted to do because the people around me weren't really doing the same thing. They're doing more traditional jobs, and it's kind of seen as bad or looked down on if you are pursuing something untraditional or creative. Wouldn't be a video for me if you didn't hear ambulances and police cars in the background. Like, a lot of the things that I did start doing were hobbies and passions that I love, like my art and my clothing that I make, and the fact that people actually buy from me now and support me and I make some sort of money from it is wild. So moving here has been so beautiful because it gave me hope. It gave me a push to actually do the things that I've wanted to do forever. And then on top of that, fashion-wise, people here dress so eccentrically and so oddly, in a good way. They're really wearing whatever they want to wear and they don't feel as judged. They feel very comfortable wearing that, and because of that, it made me want to push myself out of my comfort zone with style and fashion and create the things that I wanted to create, you know, back there with my own designs, because it makes me feel like there's an audience for it, and also that I won't feel belittled and judged for wearing the things that I want to wear. So being in this city has made me feel very comfortable just being myself. So another thing, on the same bracket of me getting out of my comfort zone with my passions and fashion and things like that, it also got me out of my comfort zone, like doing inner work and like therapy, because I feel like if I was still living at home, I'd still be in kind of like that closed mindset. I wouldn't really want to work outside of the thinking that I grew up in, just because, you know, when you are in a familiar neighborhood and community, you think that that's the norm. You're fine with being who you are because your friends and your people around you are who they are, right? It doesn't really force you to get out of your usual thinking. But once I moved out, and this is kind of similar to not letting the hustle culture define you, I knew that I had to be strong mentally and have a grasp on myself mentally so that I wouldn't let outside factors change me or ruin me. Forces you to think inwards so you don't get sucked in. At least for me, it did. Another thing that is so crucial to me, I got so independent once I moved out. I moved out and I lived alone. That was my first time ever moving out and having that experience. I really took the plunge, and it was so scary in the beginning because I'm like fully pushing myself out of my comfort zone and doing something so wild. Especially me, I grew up in a Bangladeshi American family. We believe very heavily on like familial codependent tactics. We depend on one another very heavily. So I didn't really have those life skills growing up. I didn't really have that mentality growing up. So the fact that I pushed myself out of that comfort zone and really just like bit the bullet was so crazy for me. But I am so grateful that I did that because I love the person that I've become. I love how independent I've become. It made me feel so much more confident to travel alone internationally. Like, I took solo trips to Amsterdam, to Paris, and so many other places, and just like make life decisions more confidently without having to like depend on other people to help me out, you know? Like, everything is so interconnected with one another. Since I've lived alone and done these things alone, it made me feel more comfortable and confident to live in a big city like this and just like have the confidence to tackle any obstacle that comes my way, just because I'm more sure of myself, you know? And on the same vein of being more confident by myself, I feel like my imposter syndrome has lessened. Like, sometimes we feel like we don't belong in a space, especially as a POC like me. Sometimes you don't feel like you belong in a space, whether it is your work environment or a school, because you only see white people there, or you see people that don't look like you there, and you feel like only they deserve to be successful. And that definitely was something that I felt like when I first moved to New York. It felt like only a certain demographic of people could live and succeed here. Only wealthy people could live and succeed here. But now that I have more of a grasp on myself and I am more comfortable with being independent, it makes me feel like I actually belong here. My next pro of living in New York, could be a pro, could be a con, I don't know. I have more street smarts, right? Once you are in New York, you are conditioned into using your head more in a big city and just being safe. So now that I've lived in New York, York, I feel like I can thrive for the most part in Paris and London and big cities like that, where I don't have to take as many precautions because I have those ingrained street smart. I know now what time not to take the subway. I know which New York City neighborhoods to avoid. I know how to hold my bag on the street. Things like that, which are unfortunate, obviously, especially for women. But it's also a good thing that you feel like you can stick up for yourself. My next pro of being in the city, that was a con before when I first moved out, but now is a beautiful thing. You'll find so many lifelong friends once you actually make the effort, because people from every single bracket live here. New York City is one of the biggest melting pots where you will find people from all avenues, all brackets, all countries here. It is so diverse. You'll find all the best food here as well. But because of that, you'll also feel so much more connected to people, right? Once I came here for college, I met so many people that looked like me, sounded like me, people that I could genuinely connect to and like have meaningful conversations with, and that was the first time that I really experienced that coming from my hometown, and it was such a beautiful feeling. So like once you find your community, you will find your community and you will find the most supportive people. If you guys don't know, I made a video on how to not feel so alone in a big city, so make sure to check that out, where I give you all the recommendations on how to make friends and how to find your people, because there are so many great websites for that or events for that, and I put it all in that video. So make sure you check it out if you are in the same bracket of like not having any friends in a big city. And something else that is similar to that is that you will find so many networking opportunities and events for people like you. There are literally communities for everything. It is so niched down. If you guys watched that video that I just mentioned, there's a whole website where you can actually find events that are mostly free for people like you, whether it is international students, poetry clubs, art events. If you guys like robots, like there's something for everyone, and it's like you can be as weird as possible. There's an audience for everything. That's like the beauty of New York, and also the beauty of social media now. You will find your people, but that's just the thing. You have to like put yourself out there and actually be open to the idea that there are people out there for you. Like how I was in the beginning when I first moved out. I was very closed off and I felt like there was no one out there for me. I'd rather just be alone. But once I opened up to the idea that there are people like there are people like me out there, I just have to make the effort and also have a good grasp of myself and my identity, then those people will come flocking to you, okay? Your energy will attract them. So long story short, just like any city, New York has its pros, has its cons, but don't let this video scare you. Just let this video be a guide for you and let this video prepare you for your move here. This city will break you in so many ways, but it will also build you in phenomenal ways that you would never even thought was possible. I am so glad that I really stuck through it and didn't just give up when things got hard, because now I'm able to kind of see the fruits of my labor and I'm kind of able to see the good part. If I had given up within the first year and ran back home crying, I wouldn't have seen the fullest potential of me. I wouldn't have seen the beauty of the city. So that is the end to this video. Please let me know in the comments below how you liked it. If you have anything more to say on the pros or the cons that I did say, and also if you do live in New York City or a big city like this, make sure to put some more pros down below, just so we can encourage more people to come here and create more of like an uplifting environment. I don't want this video to scare you, but if it did, please people write down some good things about the city so that people feel encouraged to come here and pursue their dreams here. If you guys did like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I actually just hit 20,000 subscribers, which is such a big deal because almost 3 years ago when I did first move here, I had like 200 subscribers and I made similar videos to this, but I never expected to be here now. So this is such a big deal for me. Thank you so much for supporting me. If you guys also want to stay tuned on my Instagram and TikTok, where I post every single day and post more content like this on the daily, it's at Labyrinth Ave. I also have a podcast with my partner called Difficult-ish, where we post every single week, sometimes even twice a week, where we just like rant, ramble, and talk so much about really important topics, and we're funny, might I add. You can find it on all streaming platforms and on YouTube, where you can watch videos as well. And as mentioned before, I have a small business where I sell my art and apparel, and a new collection is going to come out very soon in the next few months. It's labyrinthave.com if you want to check that out. Oh my god, we are finally done with this video. Let me know how I did. No water, no food in my system from the past few hours, so I hope I did this video justice. But give me some supporting words in the comments below. But I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.